Welcome to the new 2020 Indiana Health Coverage Program Work Seminar. My name is Crystal Woodson, Provider Relation Consultant for Region 3, which is Boone, Fisher, Hamilton, Hendricks, Marion, and Morgan County. I've been working for DXC as a Provider Relation Consultant for almost 4 years. Today's presentation is on prior authorization. Prior authorization presentation gives us a thorough understanding of how to submit a prior authorization request on the provider healthcare portal, including the fields required and how to follow through to get the status of and understand how to update a prior authorization request. So in today's agenda, we're going to look at some of the general requirements for prior authorization, such as why is prior authorization needed, how to create a prior authorization request, search and view a prior authorization status, when to update prior authorization, and I'm going to give some helpful tools at the end. So let's look at some general requirements for prior authorization. Why is a prior authorization important and why is it needed? Prior authorization is based on to determine medical necessity for certain services. The prior authorization is required for additional units when a normal limits are exhausted for certain services. Obtaining prior authorization is not guaranteed of a payment. Prior authorization process is to make sure Indiana Medicaid funding is utilized for services that are medically necessary, appropriate, and also cost effective. How do I know if the services I'm rendering requires a prior authorization? First, the provider must make sure that the service is covered by the member benefit plan. Your prior authorization must be requested and approved before any services is rendered. To verify a service is covered by the Indiana Health Coverage Program or whether a PA is needed, we will ask you to refer to the fee schedule on the Indiana Health Coverage website, which is in.gov. All criteria is required for the provider to be reimbursed for services rendered. However, a provider can request a PA on the behalf of the Indiana Health Coverage members. After the PA is obtained, the PA belongs to the member and not the provider, which means that the member may have prior authorized services performed by another provider other than the one who requested the PA. Here's an example of whether um, this procedure code that I entered in, which is 99600, requires a PA. So when you key in your code, you want to click submit. Then you get your results listed down here at the bottom. So it tells me everything about about the procedure code. It lets me know if a PA is required. Here, the circle in green, you will see where there's a Y listed in the column where it says PA required. That indicates that yes, a prior authorization is required for the procedure code 99600. Effective November 1st, 2019, DXC Technology is the PA contractor for the non-pharmacy services for fee-for-service members. The PA unit reviews all PA requests on the individual case by case. The PA makes their decision to authorize, modify, or deny any given request based on medical necessity and other criteria. If any member is enrolled under the Managed Health Entity, the MCEs, please contact that member's MCE for any type of PA information. Next, we're going to look and see how you can create a prior authorization request. A registered portal user with the appropriate administrator permission can log in the provider healthcare portal to submit a PA request online. After logging into the portal, the user can access the prior authorization option from the Care Management tab on the portal menu bar. By clicking the tab to access the care management page or by clicking the cursor over the tab to give yourself a drop down box, you will have an option to choose create, review, authorization. When creating an authorization, there are four panels for your request. You're going to have your create authorization, your diagnosis information, your service, and attachment is needed. As we look at the create authorization panel, there are four sections to be completed. We're going to look at a requesting provider information, member information, rendering information, and message information. Under the Create Authorization panel, Requesting Provider Information section displays information to identify the provider making the request. The requester who currently logs in, you will see the provider ID, the ID type, the name will all default to the service location. This is where the PA can be reviewed. By giving us the member information, the request the user to enter the member ID number and the data service, and at least one character of the member's first name and the last name must be entered. This information helps give this information helps verify that the request is being made for the correct member. After you key in that information, the next thing is you're going to give us who is the rendering provider. This section asks for the rendering information for the rendering if the rendering is the same provider requesting the PA. Click the rendering provider as a rendering provider checkbox if it's the same. If it's not, then you can click on the magnifying glass to search for the desired provider if the rendering request is not the rendering provider. After your search in the provider ID search, there's three options you can choose from. You have search by ID, search by name, or search by organization. Search by name, enter the provider's last and first name, click search, and then click on the provider ID to populate the information. Upon populating the provider ID or the MPI, the ID type, and the taxonomy code for the rendering. If there is no taxonomy code in the rendering profile, please do not enter one. In the process, you can now select your service type field by selecting the appropriate type of service for your PA request. The type of service selected will determine what fields and attachments are included for the request. You may also add to favorites for the populated rendered information for future references. Then in the last section of creating an authorization panel, you have your message information. Although this section does not have any required fields, it can be used to add any clinical information pertaining to the authorization request. Supporting information required for the request can either be entered into the field or attached as a separate document. Lack of frequency and duration are the most common reason for the PA to be rejected. The next panel we're going to look at is your diagnosis. Your diagnosis type will default into your IDC 10. Over to the right, you want to enter in the diagnosis code in the diagnosis code box. It's going to give you a suggestion list. Will display whether you can choose from the drop-down box. Once you see your code entered in, you can click Add to save your entry. Multiple diagnosis codes can be entered by repeating the diagnosis entry procedure. The first diagnosis code will be considered the primary diagnosis for the request. After that, you will need to give us what your service detail information is. So your service detail panel asks for details about the service to be performed. Each service as required requires a data service, a procedure code, and a code type. any units or dollars associated with the code. If appropriate, modifiers and place of service can also be indicated. All services must be included on the PA request. After all your entry has been entered, you want to click Save. You want to click Add to save your entry. The attachment panel allows the user to attach a document electronically to the authorization request. To upload the attachment to the portal, your transmission method will default to file transfer. You want to choose File to browse for your document that you have saved on your computer. Select the desired document to be uploaded. Select the appropriate attachment type from the drop down box menu. Click Add to save your entry. The best is to limit the information to only what is required to support the services, and your attachment can be when needed. After you completed the 4 steps of the requested prior authorization, you will want to review the signature guidelines. If a physician signature is needed, you can upload that information as an attachment. Once it's been uploaded, then you can click Submit. After the request passed through several checks, you will see a confirmation panel, your confirm authorization panel. It would display that the information has been reviewed for one more time. You want to make sure that everything you see is correct. Once everything is correct, you want to click confirm to send the request. If you do see an error, we ask you to click the back button to return to the previous panel and edit any information. We ask you that you do not use your browser key button that you might get kicked out of the PA request. Or if you choose not to send the PA request, you can also click cancel, and this will cancel your authorization request. After the PA submission is confirmed, the authorization receipt panel will appear. The request is assigned a authorization tracking number, which we call an ATN, to enable the providers to track the status of the requested authorization. Once after that, there is an option to print the submitted authorization form for your records. You can copy the information to a new request, or you can start a new request for a different provider all on one page. Now we're going to take a look at how you can review your prior authorization status. The review authorization status, again, you can click where it says care management. You want to click where it says review authorization status. This panel offers two different types of search for prior authorization requests. You have your prospect authorization and you'll have your search options. The requesting provider can review the PA without the PA number. The PA can be reviewed under the service location where the requester was logged in when the PA was created. Your prospect authorization can hold up to 20 authorization requests for which the user is either the requesting or the rendering provider, and the service date is the current date and the date in the future. The list can be sorted by clicking the desire of the column header. To review authorization information for any item in the list, you could just click on the authorization number. Using the search option to search for an older PA request or the request is not displaying in the prospect authorization list, you can enter the desired information such as the authorization number, the service type, the date range or the service date, members information, or the provider information. Once the information is entered, you can click search. From the resulting list, you can locate the desired request and click the appropriate link in the authorization number column. After an authorization is listed, the new PA request information along with the status response for each service detail And again, authorization is not guaranteed as a pay for payment. Now we're going to look to see when you can update your prior authorization. At the authorization response panel, it enables the original requesting provider to submit updates to an existing PA request as long as the request is not denied. The system updates cannot be used to add a new services to the original request, but they may be appropriate for making correction to a pending request or to request an extension or additional units for the approved services. You can use the message field in the box to provide more information or explain what the change is needed. By clicking the system update at the bottom of the Associate View Authorization Response page, the portal will display the resubmit authorization page, and the system update panel indicates the desired update as follows. Use the line item field to enter the number of the service line to be added. If the update applies to the whole entire authorization, you want to enter 0 in the line field. Use the message box to provide an explanation of what needs to be changed, and then you want to click Add to save your entry. You can also add additional attachments if needed. You want to click Resubmit. The system displays the prior authorization for your review. If all information is correct, then you want to click Confirm. Now we're going to look at some helpful tools. Here's an image of DXC territory map. Each provider region has a provider relation consultant and a provider relation consultant, internal consultant, working in conjunction to make the needs of the provider community. We also have a region email and a voicemail, which is a access to both provider relation consultants to access and research the response for any provider inquiries. If you do not know your provider relation consultant, please review the territory map under the Contact Us tab on the in.gov/Medicaid/provider website. Also available on the website, we have our Indiana Health Coverage provider reference module that is a good education tool for any services um, that are being rendered. It shows you how things are supposed to be built. Again, if you don't know who your provider relation consultant is, you want to look at the tab that says Contact Us. Um, Customer service or customer assistant is available Monday through Friday from 8 to 6 Eastern Time. And there listed is their phone number, the 800-457-4584. If you need to send in a secure correspondence, we ask you to do that through the Provider Healthcare Portal. Again, you have to have access to this, so it's administrative that has to put this on your delegate page. And you can click on that by clicking secure correspondence to send in your request. Thank you.